Today's episode of Oceania is sponsored by Squarespace. Visit squarespace.com/20 to get 10% off your very first purchase. G'day guys, Tools20 here. Welcome back to Oceania. It's been a little while since the last episode, about a month, so it is damn good to be back. We've got some pretty exciting things planned for today's episode. And look, I'm just going to put it out there. I might even call the episode something along these lines, but I reckon this might be my best public transport network yet. Though I haven't totally checked it yet. We're going to do that in the live play. I'm recording this before the live play. We're going to test it out, see if it all works. But at this stage, I think we're targeting all the right areas. As you can see, we've got a map of all the areas we're going to be hitting. We've got 3 lines we're going to be creating in this episode. And I think they're going to be targeting all the right areas. So we've got ones going out to the suburbs and through the city, to the airport, university, all the touristic areas. I think are going to be targeted pretty well, at least going like a metro going out that way, or they're connecting up to some sort of transport hub. So that is the aim, and we'll look a little bit better at the lines that we're creating, or at least how they function in the live play. And I've also got some ideas for potential expansions that I'm going to need your advice on, so we'll get into that as well. But first things first, we're going to be creating this first line. I believe this will be the green line. And as you can see, the color settings have just suddenly changed. And that's because I had recorded all that other stuff, all the cinematics and all, I guess that first little bit of time lapse, probably about a month and a half ago. And then my computer died, lost all that, or at least lost all this save files for that. And yeah, just recreated it, had to put together all my color settings. So it's a little bit different. Maybe it looks a touch greener. I don't know. Might need to go back and change some of the color settings, but I think they don't look too bad at the moment. So we've actually got 2 stations already built so far, or at least we're working on the second one. The first one is out towards the suburb that's going to be right on the beachfront. That's going to be inspired by Bondi. And I figured it would probably be worthwhile having a pretty big transport hub out that way, because there's going to be a fair amount of people making their way out towards that area when we build it up. So yeah, figured a metro would actually be quite nice as well. And here I am just testing out that line, because as you can see, I mean, this is going to be my most custom train station we're going to be creating in this episode. This one is curved, so it's like I really loved creating this one. It was like a lot of fun doing a bit more of a custom styled one. It did take a little while to build, so this is why I'm not doing it for every single one. But yeah, we're creating a curved train station, and the way that I'm doing this is I'm using one of the networks, so you can actually use some of the networks rather than placing down the physical building of the train station, and then you can just connect it up using the I guess the stops. And then I've also created a custom platform, just grabbed one from the workshop. And as you can see, I wanted just to test it out with a train, because I wanted to make sure that I was creating a platform that was close enough, that was high enough, and was also the right size, because I've made a few of these in City Skylines before, and sometimes you can create these custom train stations or whatever it is. It might be a custom any sort of transport system, and then the actual vehicle turns up to the station and it's like too large or too small, or it doesn't even go to the right area. So it's always worthwhile measuring it up. I was going to use, well, sometimes I use a prop instead, but figured just to create a network just to get an idea would make a bit of sense. We're also doing a bit of work on the staircase. I decided to use this asset that is a building and you place it along, well, at least you place it onto a road and people can actually use it. But because this is a train station and it's used in a different way, I had to use procedural objects to stretch it out a little bit. And eventually, when we do finish off the station, I will drag out an invisible path so people can actually use it. That'll be a little later. But I probably should have put this staircase on the other side of the road, the elevated road, because I think there's a little bit more space. But the area, the platform over there was just way too curved. I needed something that was a little bit flatter, and I think this one makes a bit more sense. And then you're just gonna have to imagine there's some sort of elevator within the building, because I didn't really have room to put one in, but I just imagine there'd be an elevator within the building. And then we've also got these shop fronts, which create a pretty nice backdrop, or at least create a yeah, just a bit more realism for the station and some plants as well, because this is a fairly nice area. I didn't, there's quite a lot of concrete within the station, but I did want there to be a bit of greenery around, especially being such a nice area. I figured we should probably make the station just a touch nicer. So we have put some plants, some vines, and I mean, I guess that's about it. We've got some shop fronts and creating a bit of a back area for them as well with some parking. And then all around this area is where the actual train line is going to be, where we're going to be putting in, the train network, which is going to target a couple of suburbs on the outer edges, which is why we're not going to drag out metro to a lot of other areas around Dundee. I'll talk a bit more about that in the live play because I think that'll make a bit more sense. But this area, it's sort of a bit of a dead space, and there's not a huge amount you can do with it. So I figured a bit of greenery, mixed in with a bit of industry. We're going to get into the whole rail side of things at a later stage when we get a bit more of the city established, which honestly, I can't wait. I think doing all the rail is going to be just super fun. So I'm looking forward to doing that. And you can also see this is me using the invisible paths just to create that pathway, and people actually use it. But I don't really know how effectively because I really just wanted to test it out in the live play with you guys to get my reaction as it all kind of works or doesn't work. So let's hope it actually does work. So for the third stop, we are going to be putting it within our central station. So I don't know why I decided to do it this way, but I thought this would be a fun and a useful area to put our central stop. We're actually going to have two central station stops for the metro. This one is actually going to be using one of the platforms. And the way that I've done that is I've just been a little bit sneaky and I've dragged, again, the same network as I did for the last platform. I dragged that network within the station, and it's actually sitting on top of the train line. As you can see, I'm just sort of playing around with it so I can integrate it just a little bit better. But yeah, that metro line, it sneaks its way through the train station, and people are actually using that one, which I thought I was gonna have to drag out like a whole other, invisible footpath to make that work, but it works, and that's kind of ridiculous. I think that's crazy that still works. I don't really understand how people find things within this game, like the mechanics of it, I still find very, very impressive. For a game that's, made in 2015, some parts of the game I can start to see its age, but the pathfinding I find, for the people, I find that still very impressive. The fact that people can actually find and use that platform, that's so cool. Now, for station number 4, this one is going to be heart and center of the city. We're going to call this one Town Hall. I'll talk about the names of the stations during the live play, but this one is going to be Town Hall. It's an underground station. I'm using a station by Clus, or Clus, I don't know. It's something like that. C-L-U-S, Clus, probably. And it's super detailed. It's actually all rendered in. Actually, all my tunnels are totally rendered. I'm using one by Revo, who creates some of the best train and transport assets on the Steam Workshop. Absolutely. Of course, you guys know Revo is. He's an incredible creator, and I'm using a bunch of his tracks, but I'm also using a bunch of Cluses, which are just incredible as well, and they're all rendered, and the train stations by Clues are all rendered and just look ridiculous. So we'll have a little explore of them, and you can also create these pedestrian networks too. So these networks are all rendered, and so I could actually follow someone all the way down into a tunnel in first person mode, and they'd go into the train station and catch the train, and it'd just be so cool. So expect a metro trip at some stage, but I do need to fix up some of my tunnels because they're doing some weird elevated maneuvers to get around the city, because I wasn't really working on that. I was just more focused on just creating the network. Well, I just very quickly created my next station. This one was a surprise one. Absolutely did not expect to create this one. Didn't think I was going to have enough room. I really wanted enough room, and I'm so glad this one came together, because this one's going to target an area that is the closest to the bridge, and there's actually 2 lines connecting up to this station, which I think makes so much sense. I'm really quite happy with how this one turned out. Not to mention this really cool thing that's about to happen. We're going to have this tunnel that's going to be created, but it's not technically a tunnel because it's, you can still see the station through the, underneath the ground. So I have to create my own custom tunnel entrance bit. So that means you can see the train station from the ground, like the underneath train station from the ground. And that is, that's pretty cool. So that's just something we're going to put together. Have to take a couple of cinematics, do a bit of exploring in the live play, and really show that bit off. But as I was saying, there are 2 networks that use this station, so we might have to do some troubleshooting with this one, because I think we're going to get some trains probably banking up. There might be a little bit of a problem with just how many people or how many trains are actually going to use it. I think that's a thing that I always struggle with these networks, is how many vehicles are going to be using using the different lines. And I think what typically happens, and I notice like a lot of people do this as well, is they create the line, they're quite happy with it, and then all these trains get banked up and there's all this problem, and then they go, stuff it, I'll just leave it. At least that's what I do. I don't want to do that with this one. I want to make sure that everything's really nice and flows beautifully. I know Biffa does a really good job at doing this sort of stuff, but I struggle because I kind of just make it and go, all right, everything's going to work. But quite often it doesn't work. You have to go back and make sure those vehicles are even moving, because quite often you can create these networks, leave them, and then it turns out that they're just banked up at one station and nothing's flowing. I want to try and make sure that everything's going to flow and be on point, because we desperately need some sort of transport network within Dundee, because people they're kind of miserable. They're not really using public transport because it doesn't really exist. Actually, speaking of public transport, the last episode we worked on the ferry line and bus line, and then my computer broke and I lost half of that save. So luckily I kept all the bus network that I created, because that's great. I really needed that bus network. It actually flows beautifully, so I'm quite happy with that one. But unfortunately, all that ferry work that I did was lost, and that suburb that I also built, you might notice it, but that's also lost. But honestly, that's not too bad. I can rebuild that. That's not a huge waste. I can totally make that work. But something that is really, really annoying, and this is going to be a massive problem in Marble Mountain and even in Springfield. I think this is going to be another problem. But all my surface painter has reset, so you can probably see that I've had to go through and add in surface painter again, which is such a pain because it changes so much and I use it all the time. So we've got so many areas that don't have that surface painter anymore, and I'm so sad because that is such a pain to repaint, and you quite often don't notice. Like, you just know that something's wrong and you can't tell what's wrong with that area, and then you have to go back and paint it and you go, that's what was missing. But anyway, we're moving on to our next line. This is the blue line, and this one is going to be a very short network, and we might actually do some expanding at some point, but that network is going to target my Darling Harbour inspired area. It's going to go underneath that highway, and it's going to use a network. I'm going to have to explain a little bit better in my live play, because I've got a really nice idea of how that network came to be. But we've already moved on, and I'm going to talk about the next one because this one's a short one too, and I want to talk a bit about how it works. This one's going to stretch out towards the airport. We've got a couple of stops, including one that hits that Darling Harbour inspired area. Still don't know what to call it. And then it's going to go underneath the central station into its underground platform. And then that line's going to go to another stop that's going to terminate at the university that we haven't built yet, but it's at that big area. You know, that big green area that people have been complaining about? Yeah, I plan to do a university there and some sort of central park. So yeah, that's why that's all big and open, and that's what my plan is for that one. There's now a platform under there too. Now, I felt like that was a pretty fast explanation of this network, and it's a bit of a shame because it does some pretty fun things. I want you guys to really dive into how this is working and the places it goes to and the future ideas for expansion. So what I've done is I've created a map that you can go and check out on my website. Shows you the whole overview of the stations we created, and I plan to update this when we expand out the city a little bit more and add other transportation. And of course, I made my site with channel sponsor Squarespace, not only because it'd be pretty awkward if I didn't, but because the website building tools are unmatched. Squarespace's editing tools make it super easy to embed videos, pictures, and just about anything you could possibly want to make the website of your dreams. Anything I've ever wanted to share with my community on my site has been super easy to implement and create using Squarespace. If you're spread across multiple social platforms like I am, running your own business, channel, or whatever you might be doing, it's super convenient to have a central place for people to find important information. Squarespace also allows you to link your social platforms on your site. Of course, you can edit them, make them look exactly how you want, draw and upload your own custom ones if you wanted to. Creating your own website couldn't be easier. Simply have a browse through Squarespace's template library and have a little squiz at the ones that you like the most. Once you've found the style you like, it's then super easy to add pages and edit your site to be exactly what you want it to be. If all that sounds good, then you can start your free trial at squarespace.com/$2.20, where you'll also get a 10% discount on your very first purchase. Big old thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. How about we now go and check out and see if this metro line is anything like I've been talking it up, because, you know, I've got some very high hopes for it. I'm expecting it to do some marvelous things, get people around, function like it's supposed to. Let's go and check it out. Before I get down there and check out if all this is working, I just want to let you know that I've turned down the graphics for this live play just to get a much better frame rate within the city. Now, I don't know how much of a difference it's going to make within how everything looks. If you can tell, then let me know. So let's just go and check out our very first stop. We're going to go for Green Line first, and the very first stop, or at least end of the line, is going to be all the way out this way. I don't know what I'm going to call this beach yet. It's going to be inspired by Bondi, and if you have any name suggestions, let me know and we'll name it up. And that's what the station is going to be called too. It's a bit of a transport hub because it's going to be a pretty high demand area. Like, a lot of people are going to be making their way out here, and it's actually a pretty large population out this way too. Actually, let's check that out. Yeah, so almost 5,000 people live in this area already, and we haven't even gone into the highest density area. So having two stations so close by, I think is probably a good idea. So Green Line terminates here and then makes its way all the way to Stanley Street Station. The custom station I built, I'm really happy with it. I'm looking forward to adding in a bit more detail around these areas, expanding out some of the suburbs, and also putting a bit of work into this this rail line over here will make that look pretty nice. Something that I have changed is I've added a bus stop right here so that we're nice and close. Yeah, so you can see we've got two coming in. It's working pretty nicely. We don't have any clipping going on. The trains get super close to the platform. You know, just got that luxury of creating it custom, so they are very, very close, which is awesome. And then we've also got people using this staircase. There we go. People walking up and down. Yeah, great. Okay, so that works. Wonderful. Let's go and check out Central Station, which is just the biggest platform for the smallest train. But you know, I think that's fine. I can live with that. But how cool is that? People are actually using the platform. I think that's pretty cool. So the next stop after that is all the way down at Town Hall. Town Hall is down here, and you know, I've got question marks about this one. I don't know if people are actually using it. It's underground, so we can do something really cool thanks to Clues, who has made this completely rendered. Oh, let's see if I can catch this guy as he walks down. No, okay. But I think I can actually travel down there using camera setting that I've got. Let's see. Oh, here I go. Great. Man, how cool is this? I mean, this is ridiculous. So yeah, we're in the station. People are here. That's great. That's great. I just wanted to see if people are actually using it, and they are. Not that many people, that's fine. I think most people are using buses at this stage. They seem to travel in some pretty good directions, so I think people are mostly using the buses. But that's fine. I mean, as long as people are using my public transport, that's all I care about. That's Town Hall, and then over here we have another station. I actually don't know what to call this one, so if you've got some names, let me know. But it's right here, right next to the bridge. And we've got two entrances here and here. And I think the best part about this station is that you can actually see it from over here. So let's just travel in via this entrance. I don't recommend doing that. Alright. And again, people are here. This time it's a central platform. Apparently it goes to the zoo, which it most certainly does not. So my concern for this platform, and it's exactly what's happening, I don't want to see any banking up of any of these trains. So I might actually have to go back and fix that one. But just want to quickly show you this station here. Now I almost put this over here a little bit closer to where the ferries are going to be, but it was blocking a little bit of the view. This isn't too bad, you can see the view quite nicely, but before it was, I don't know, just a little bit intrusive, so we're not going to do that. And looks as though we've got some people using it. Beautiful. Alright, let's fix this line, because we've got the blue line and the green line meeting at this station, and I think we've probably got one too many trains at this stage. Alright, so the blue line at the moment is only a couple of stops, and we've got 3 trains, which probably is too many, so I might actually go and just make some adjustments with how many vehicles we have. Let's get rid of that one car, we don't really need that one. Oh, don't want to delete the line. Remove vehicle, and I think that's going to just ease that traffic on that station just a little bit. So blue line travels from this, goes to this station, and then travels along this network here. Now this network, so basically the story behind this network for me is that this was an old industrial freight line that's traveled through the city. It probably traveled, here, let me just get a better view of the city. Okay, so what I'm imagining is that line, it travels all the way through here, goes through this whole area and terminates at this station. Now I'm sort of imagining that that is an old industrial freight line that was bringing cargo in and out of this bay area. Now this bay area is a touristic, eventually it's going to be a very nice looking area, but I'm going to imagine that this was once a industrial hub, and the train line used to get cargo in and out, but they've actually repurposed that into this metro line. So it's probably one of the more recent additions to the metro line. And that's why you can actually see that there is a little bit of industry around the edges of this line. And yeah, this brickwork, I don't know, I sort of imagine that this is the brickwork of an industrial area. So that is sort of my idea behind that line. Now, this one, it's not going to be seeing that many people at the moment because there's not really anything around here. But at some stage, we're going to have a pretty big touristic area. And then I'm also thinking about, and let me know if you think this is a good idea, but connecting another line that goes through and stops somewhere around here. And this is where I'm going to put the stadium. It's a pretty big stadium, but yeah, it's going to be something like that. And I might even place, you know, might have a couple of stadiums, we'll see. But yeah, that's going to get a lot of people. So I think an extra station right in the middle of it would make a bit of sense. All right, one more line to check out, and then I've got another question for you. This one, of course, this is the yellow line. I think I might have turned it into the red line just so I could see the line a little bit better. But this one's going to go, of course, to the airport when we finally get to it. We're going to have we've got to stop right here. Now, I don't know how much, I mean, it's really just in the middle of a bit of an industrial hub, so I sort of just thinking about whereabouts I want that line, well, that stop to sit, whether it's going to be there or over here. But I think that an extra stop around here would probably make a bit of sense. But yeah, that red line comes along the highway, goes through the messiest interchange I've probably ever built, and it only, it's pretty tight. It's pretty tight in there, but yeah, it travels along, and then it connects up to this stop. So this is a, you know, 2 lines a meeting. And then I have no idea how to get, I don't know what I'm going to do here. I probably just need to raise that up a little bit more, but it's already pretty high. I don't know. That's going to be a bit of a mess. But anyway, travels through, goes underneath Central Station. Now this is a pretty cool station because this one is underground, and I don't know if you can see it, but there is a path that travels all the way through. Oh, look, and people are using it. That just makes me very happy. But yes, the subway station is there, and there's another one on that side too. So this has really become a busy area. I mean, all these buses coming in and out. I think at some stage I'm going to turn off intercity buses and I'm just going to make this local buses, and we might have to have an intercity bus terminal somewhere else because that is just a little bit too busy. And then that line travels underneath Hipsterville and travels to what I'm going to be building, the university, turning this whole area into the university. So it's going to be a park/uni. So looking at all of Dundee, you can sort of see where the lines are. This one's the airport, and you've got the green line over this way and terminates there. So you can sort of see our lines. What I'm thinking about doing is there is a spot just here for this line, and I was thinking about it going underneath and going maybe a stop somewhere around here and then connecting potentially to the university line, I don't know, or the university station. Or the other scenario is that it just terminates there. Or just another idea, but I don't know how realistic this would be or how necessary, but potentially going underwater and connecting somewhere around here. That's sort of my idea behind that extension. Of course, we'll get something towards the airport, but besides that, I mean, I think most of Dundee is well connected. I know there's no metro out this way, but we're going to have the train line. We're going to have a couple of stations, and we've also got the buses, and I think that's just about as much as I want to put out in those areas. And then, you know, train line's going to come out this way too. Not the metro, but just the train line. But that is for another day. But guys, that is it for today's episode. Thank you all so much for watching. It's been a fun one. I've been wanting to put this one together for a while. And it's finally good to see the city come together in terms of public transport, because that was something we were absolutely lacking in. Big thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video, and a special thanks to my wonderful patrons supporting the channel: Akshat Thapa, Ben, Maximilian, Kyle Horton, Charlie Zane, VLDC 1000, Lucky Franco, Ferg, Adam Evans, Nick Seraphiline, Damon Cooper, and Christopher Wren. Thank you all so much for your support, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!